Today we are going to be talking about the Duggar family. If you guys just so happened to miss my last video about the Duggars, it heavily focused on Josh Duggar and the ongoing situation with him. But today we are going to focus more on the family in general. I'm going to be telling you guys all from the very beginning of how the Duggars became who they are. We're going to dive a little bit deeper into Jim Bob and Michelle Duggar. And we're also going to be talking about IBLP, which is the Christian organization that they follow, and also the homeschool curriculum ATI they use to teach their kids. Now, the reason why I want to do this video is because there are a lot of very disturbing things in what these kids are being taught in this family. And there's also someone that is tied to IBLP and the ATI curriculum that has been accused of SA and other things. With all that rambling out of the way, we're going to go ahead and hop into this, so enjoy. Before we get into this video, I have a handy dandy disclaimer for you guys. And I know, I hate disclaimers too, but I'm sorry. The commenters, they force us YouTubers into it. It's a trap. It's a part of the YouTuber application process. When you apply to become a YouTuber, there's a whole chapter dedicated to how to give a proper disclaimer. It's important to remember that I am just a girl on the internet that creates videos on topics that fascinate me. I am not an expert on literally anything. I just enjoy sharing content on topics that fascinate me with people that are also interested in listening to said topics. While some things in this video are proven to be factual, there are some things that are alleged for entertainment purposes only. There's also an entire chapter about how to say that in your videos. With all that being said, I am not a Duggar hater, and this is not a Duggar family hate channel. I do not wish ill will towards anybody in the Duggar family, except of course Josh Duggar, and we did an entire video on that which will be linked down below. In this video, we will also be discussing some themes that may be disturbing to some viewers, so please watch at your own discretion. I will be using abbreviations to describe certain situations, and I do this to protect the monetization on my videos so that I don't lose ads for all my hard work. But if it bothers you, I'm sure there's channels that don't care about getting paid and just say the words. That's not me here. But without further ado, my friends, with that disclaimer out of the way, we're gonna go ahead and get into the thing that I think you guys are most excited to see, and that is about the Duggar family. Jim Bob Duggar was born James Robert Duggar on July 18th, 1964 in Springdale, Arkansas, which, funny story, Springdale is like 15-20 minutes from where I live, very close. He went to a Christian school called Kyeluh Christian High School, and that's where he actually graduated. Here is the website for the high school that Jim Bob graduated from. The mission of Kyeluh is to develop godly leaders who engage their culture and change it. Relevant biblical teaching here, which none of us are surprised. Of course you would in a Christian high school. They have athletics, which is good. Love how their mission is to develop godly leaders who engage their culture and change it. And that is exactly what Jim Bob has been trying to do with his millions of children. Their philosophy, Kyeluh Christian School, strongly adheres to the belief that all truth is God's truth. God, the Father, must be recognized as the creator and organizer of the universe before true mastery of worldly facts can be established. Noted. While growing up, his family didn't have a lot of money, and I actually read online that apparently his mother once had to cook decorative rice because it was the only food in the house. I wasn't sure exactly what that meant, and the only thing I could think of, you know those heating pads, those handmade heating pads that have like the rice that's inside of them that you put in the microwave and heat up? Decorative rice, decorative rice. What does that mean? I don't get it. What is decorative rice? I still don't feel any more knowledgeable on what decorative rice is, but they apparently had to eat it. That's actually really, really sad, and I feel bad that they had to do that. Unfortunately, a lot of people in the South grow up with struggles of money and how to feed their families. I also found it really interesting that Jim Bob is the only one that has a Wikipedia. I tried to find Michelle Duggar's, but when you open hers up, it actually takes you to the 19 Kids and Counting Wikipedia, which is really interesting. It's like, is Michelle Duggar just her children? Is she just a TV show? Why does it take you to 19 Kids and Counting? Michelle Duggar, where is your Wikipedia? Not that the Wikipedia is the be all end all of all facts. We all know anybody and everybody can edit this shit, but why doesn't she have one? Did she edit herself out, or did Jim Bob? Michelle Duggar really said, fuck that shit. I don't want a Wikipedia. It's also really interesting to note that despite Jim Bob and Michelle Duggar having such a large family, he actually came from a very small one. He's the son of Jimmy Lee Duggar Duggar and Mary Lester. He only has one older sister by the name of Deanna. And also, according to one of the Duggar books called Growing Up Duggar, which I have not read, so I do not know this to be factually true. Apparently, some of his daughters alluded to in the book that his dad was not actually a very good spiritual leader of the home. Who knows exactly what that means, if that just means to them that he wasn't a good Christian. I mean, did he dance? Because we all know the Duggars don't believe in dancing. Who really knows? It could literally mean anything, but like I said, with the Duggar family, they don't even believe in holding hands, so what him not being a good spiritual leader means, we may never know. Now, Michelle had a little bit of a different upbringing than what you would imagine. She was born Michelle Annette Ruark on September 13th, 1966. She was born, surprisingly, to, if you didn't know it, a family that didn't attend church and wasn't actually religious. She had a lot more siblings than Jim Bob did. She had 6, and she was actually a cheerleader, which is something that I wouldn't think that they would ever allow their children to be. Michelle didn't actually become Christian until she was in high school, and that's kind of where we get into how Jim Bob and Michelle Duggar had met. Apparently, Jim Bob was about 17 years old, and he was going door to door visiting families who had visited their church. Apparently, one of his friends suggested that they visit one of his cheerleader friends, which was Michelle Duggar.
A friend of mine, Fred, said, "Hey, I know this girl that just became a Christian and she's a cheerleader." And I said, "Well, let's go see her."
When they visited, they both invited her to Sunday school. And supposedly when he left, he allegedly prayed in her doorway that day. I quote, "I would love to be her spiritual leader. Can she be mine?" A year later, Jim Bob told his mom, who was the manager of a yogurt shop that Michelle Duggar had applied to hire her.
I went to pick up my mom from work one day and she said, "Hey, there's a girl named Michelle Ruark that applied for a job here today. Do you know her?" And I said, "Yes, you need to hire her."
He was plotting and planning. He's like, I really want to get with this sexy cheerleader, the sexy new Christian cheerleader. His mom ended up hiring her, so Michelle Duggar started working at a yogurt shop. Conveniently, he was there during one of her shifts, as you guys can imagine, and he invited her to a junior/senior banquet at his school, which she agreed to go to. And afterwards, they supposedly had like a 4-hour-long conversation about the Bible. As you guys can tell from this, Jim Bob was clearly smitten and obsessed and just wanted Michelle Duggar from pretty much the very beginning.
It definitely was love at first sight.
Knowing what they believe now, thinking that women who don't cover every inch of their body are luring men in, preying on their weaknesses, I'm not surprised. He saw a cheerleader and he's like, ooh. And it's just so funny because like they don't want their kids to do exactly what they did. Like they don't want their kids to be a cheerleader. And they also don't want their sons to be looking at cheerleaders. So it's just really... It's just so interesting to me that the things that they wanted their kids to follow, they themselves don't. But as much as Jim Bob was smitten with Michelle, she was not really that interested in him from the beginning.
First time that Jim Bob and I met, I don't remember meeting him at love at first sight because I really didn't even talk to him.
Eventually, she did, and they started dating, and as we all know, yes, they got married. Is anybody surprised? Michelle Duggar married Jim Bob Duggar on July 21st, 1984, and she was actually wearing his mother's wedding dress. They married at Cross Church in Rogers, Arkansas. I actually had pizza and drinks for my 21st birthday at Mellow Mushroom right next to it. I don't think they would approve of that. I got rather tipsy, so I know exactly where they got married. They had a very inexpensive wedding with fake flowers, and they actually recorded their ceremony with an audio cassette. And at the beginning of their marriage, it doesn't seem as though they had plans to have this massive family that we all know of today.
We didn't want children when we first got married.
Originally, Michelle was actually on birth control, and she got off and had Joshua Duggar, who we talked about in a previous video.
And then I went back on the pill, and I ended up getting pregnant while on the pill. And we ended up losing that baby.
Because of that, Jim Bob and Michelle believed that the pill that she was on caused her to have a miscarriage. So because of that, they became completely anti the pill and birth control. She got off of it, and they made the decision to allow God to choose how many children they have. And people who have this belief of no birth control or no precautions to prevent having 1,000 kids, they typically end up with a lot of them. I first started watching when it was 18 Kids and Counting, and then they had a previous one called 17 Kids and Counting, and then they also had a TLC special, which is what I talked about in my previous Duggar video, called 14 Kids and Pregnant Again. 14 Kids and Pregnant Again is where we learn of their buddy system, where it's considered a privilege to be Michelle Duggar's buddy, which is basically where she takes care of them, and then it's moved to one of the daughters who takes care of their kids for them. Now, some of this I feel like is fair, and I don't feel like is weird at all. For instance, if they go on like a family outing, each kid has certain kids that they basically take care of and make sure that they don't get lost, which I feel like makes sense in a big family.
We each have what we call a little buddy, or a couple of them. So it's just for older girls, and we have some of the younger ones that we just help with keeping an eye on them whenever we're out and about in a large crowd, or in the morning helping them pick out their outfit and straighten their hair.
You have this massive family, and then like your own kids are basically like forced to parent your kids for you, and it's just nobody signed up for that. Like, it should be your choice to be like an at-home babysitter. But I think a lot of us were really fascinated by the Duggar family in this show because it was just so bizarre. Because not only did they have this massive family, they also had their really strange beliefs, and the structure of how they ran their family was just really bizarre. I was also fascinated by the family when I watched it because I lived by them and I would see familiar places sometimes. I had seen them in person, so it was just really, it was extra interesting for me to watch it. I always felt myself feeling bad for the kids, especially as they get older, because I'm like, they just don't have a normal upbringing and something that I feel like every kid should have, like with them having to take care of each other and things like that. It's like you have some of your childhood kind of robbed from you. Now, that's not to say that they never play and that they don't have fun and things like that. Like, obviously they do. We've seen it on the show. However, there is a podcast that one of Josh Duggar's old friends started doing where he basically said that in the show they would do all these fun things and these fun activities and make it look like they did stuff like that, but they literally only did it when they were filming for the show, and that TLC would actually set up these things for them to do, and that it was just very structured and not exactly the real dynamic of the family. The way things were behind closed doors was a little bit different, and that's not to say that behind closed doors that they were abusive or terrible or anything like that. It's just obviously with the show, I mean, if you've ever seen it, it's very happy and everything perfect all the time and smiley, and Michelle talks in that like really weird creepy voice that's just eerie and unsettling. There's also a clip of Michelle Duggar, I believe it was Derek who married Jill Duggar, who was actually doing an Instagram live, and you can hear Michelle Duggar yelling at one of the kids in the background. I guess she didn't know that he was filming, and you do hear like a slam, like something was like slammed down hard on something.
What's going on? Say hi to our Instagram followers.
Howdy.
Hey, Mama. This is our Instagram followers. We're just making a video and saying hey. Hi.
I've never heard her raise her voice. Is she really like that?
She when we were younger, just to lower her voice instead of raising it. So we knew like if we were in trouble, she was whispering at us.
However, this does not mean that there was anything going wrong in this clip. Obviously, when you have 19 kids, you're going to have to be very stern with them sometimes. I think it's very unrealistic to paint this picture that in families that everybody's like this and everybody's perfect. And it kind of shows a glimpse of how things aren't always perfect, and Michelle's not always happy and sweet.
I don't always stay calm. And yes, I do lose it at times. I think we all struggle with that. The feelings of frustration and anger building up. We would study out of our wisdom booklet. One of the resources was talking about anger. One point that stuck in my heart was the point about a soft answer turns away wrath. The children were watching me with tears streaming down my cheeks, and I just said, I want you children to know that Mommy loves you, and I really am a nice person. I don't want you to think that I'm this mean mommy.
Said in the beginning of this video, it's important to note we are not in their family. We don't know how things are behind closed doors. The family raised their kids to be abstinent from physical contact, including holding hands with their boyfriends or girlfriends. They have to side hug.
A side hug would be when two people wrap their arms around each other and give each other a hug from the side versus a frontal hug of pushing themselves together on the front.
They don't believe in dancing. They don't believe in moving their bodies in ways that might tempt people. It's so weird. And because of that, they aren't allowed to listen to any music that isn't Christian. And even if it's like Christian rock or anything that would make them want to move their bodies, which also on that note, the family is very musically talented. They all play instruments and sing and things like that. They don't watch TV. And if they do, from what I've read online, it's heavily monitored. And according to E, all the girls keep their hair long because of a Bible verse that states, "A woman's hair is her glory." And also on the same note, it denounces men having long hair. And we do notice that all of the Duggar girls have really long hair. It's never dyed or anything like that. They do curl it. I saw Jessa Duggar in Walmart, and I have never seen hair more beautiful than hers. It's so long and thick. All the girls have to wear dresses or skirts, and the boys have to wear pants. And actually previously in my video, I stated that they have to wear blue jeans, but I don't think that's exactly correct. I think they just can't wear shorts. And also kind of tied into their rules with covering up and being incredibly modest. There's also like it's not like a safe word, but like, I don't even know what you would call it. I've never heard of something so bizarre in my life, but because they have like these really weird rules on modesty and things like that, if they see someone that they consider a potential temptation or lack of modesty, they will actually say Nike in order to get the boys to look at their shoes. This is protecting them from sinning by looking at something that isn't modest enough for their standards, which is just like, my God, can you guys have some control over yourself? What the hell? Like, I'm not judging the kids in this family because they were raised up in this, and I believe this is brainwashing. I believe that this is toxic, and I don't believe in the way that they were raised at all. I think it's wrong. The way that sexual things and physical contact is just so shunned, and it's just taught to them like it's this awful thing. It creates this almost obsession with it, and you see it in their family dynamic. You can hear it on the show when you watch it. When you're not raised up like that, and you don't think that way, you're not obsessed with sex and physical contact and making sure everything's modest, and it's normal to be attracted to other people. It's normal to have dirty thoughts sometimes. It's normal to have physical contact, to want that. When it's taught to kids that are going through puberty and things like that, that it's not normal, they feel like there's something wrong when they have these thoughts and feelings that everybody has. And so when they have them, which they will because it's normal and everyone does, I'm sorry whether the Duggar family likes it or not, it's normal. When you're so shunned from that, you become obsessed with it, and that's not normal. It creates a whole other problem. It actually creates the problem that I think that they're trying so hard to avoid. So with all of that, you know, they aren't allowed to have things like tattoos, piercings. They're not allowed to drink, even though Jesus drank wine. You know what I'm saying? They definitely don't believe in birth control, as we can see. Actually, as much as they train their daughters to mostly abstain from physical contact with their partners for marriage, and I say mostly because once they're engaged, I believe they're allowed to like hold hands, or we'll get into some of that in just a minute. After marriage, they're encouraged to give themselves to their husbands and basically serve his every need. And it doesn't matter if they are tired, if they don't want to have sex or whatever. They are taught to give him whatever he wants whenever he wants it. That treats sex like it's only for the men and it's not for the women's pleasure at all, which it's gross that they train their daughters like this, because that's also training their sons that they are superior to women and that they can take whatever they want whenever they want it, and whoever they marry is supposed to give it to them, and if they don't, then they're doing something wrong. With all of that being said, Jim Bob and Michelle Duggar do get a little wild here. For this one, they actually allow their children to set their own rules for their relationships. The weird thing is that they have to bring the rules that they set for their own relationships to their parents. And if that wasn't invasive enough, they also read all of their text messages. So when they're like texting their significant other, their parents are reading the conversation. There's like no privacy. You would think with all of these kids that they have, that they wouldn't have the time to care about this stuff, let alone want to care about this stuff. Like, you have like a million kids. Like, why do you care what your adult children are doing in their relationships? I feel like I'm gonna keep saying, if that wasn't weird enough, but if that wasn't weird enough, there's also this 20 or 35 or 40 page application situation that Jim Bob put together that the boys who are marrying into their family basically have to review and sign and back to Jim Bob so he can get to know them better before he can marry marry a Duggar girl. I don't exactly know how long this is, because in the clips that I saw, men that married into the family said a bunch of different numbers, but they all, including the Duggar girls who are married, say it is real that Jim Bob really did type this up.
Did Mr. Duggar ever grill you guys about your financial situation before marriage?
It's on the 45-page application.
You think he's joking?
He is not kidding, yes.
Yes, they did.
I got sent a 50-page questionnaire. I sent it back at 105 pages.
I think that questionnaire is pretty thorough, and so like as they would send back, well, I think Jeremy sent his in one chunk, but Derek and Ben sent theirs section by section. Like when they'd fill out the finance section, they'd send.
This was top secret, and I let the cat out of the bag.
He's not letting
Yes,
no.
you did.
Jessa had already been with Ben, but Jessa had already been with Ben before Jim Bob decided he wanted to do this. But when Ginger got with Jeremy, it was already a full-fleshed idea of, you gotta sign this booklet, this huge thing, and tell me all about you. I mean, who knows what's in this? But it's just really bizarre to me, because it's basically like Jim Bob wants to get all this information about these men before he approves of them marrying his daughters. What's the point in something like that unless there's things that you would not approve of them getting married? And another thing that's really weird, if you guys watched my last video about Josh Duggar literally got married to Anna, and they knew about him SAing his own siblings. So it's funny that Jim Bob is all high and mighty over here. Like, I need you guys to fill out this application and have these interviews with me before you marry my daughter, when he's having a son who essayed them marrying another girl. It's so weird. Like, maybe it's a little bit of projection. Like, he's like, I need to make sure they're not like my son. It's like you want to protect your daughters from marrying the wrong man, but you didn't protect your daughters from their own brother. So now we're going to get back into the birth control talk. So they don't believe in birth control, and they raise their daughters to not believe in birth control, and they teach their children to allow God to choose how many children they have, which to me is funny, because it's like, you want God to choose how many children they have, but you're literally setting their life up the way that you want their life to go. So you are actually controlling how many children your kids have, because you're raising them to think exactly the way that you do. You're raising them to add to a huge group of people that you're trying to grow that all have the same beliefs that you do, so that they can literally outnumber anybody else that doesn't think exactly like you. And that brings me into my next chapter, the Quiverful movement. Jim Bob and Michelle Duggar have denied that they follow the Quiverful movement, and according to In Touch, they've stated that they are actually independent Baptist. But although they deny any association with the Quiverful movement, they share basically all of the same ideals. So to me, I'm like, how can you deny that you have anything to do with Quiverful when everything you stand for is exactly what Quiverful stands for? So the Quiverful movement is based on Psalm 127, like arrows in the hands of a warrior are sons born in one's youth. Blessed is the man whose quiver is full of them. Literally every single word in the Bible in this movement is taken literally. Quiverful is the belief that large families are a blessing from God, and like the Duggars believe that you don't do birth control or anything like that, you just let God bless you with as many children as he wants you to have. It encourages procreation while abstaining from all forms of birth control and sterilization, which is exactly what the Duggar family believes in and teaches their children. The families in the Quiverful movement are everywhere. I read online somewhere that in 2009, they estimated that there was about 10,000 people in the Quiverful movement. You probably wouldn't know how many people are actually in this movement, especially like considering the whole movement is based on growing the movement. And, you know, the Duggars literally follow every single thing that's in the Quiverful movement. Like, admittedly, we know about it, yet they say that they're not a part of it. So how many people are in the Quiverful movement that just deny it and act like they're not? It's kind of scary, because in Quiverful, it's literally just procreate. Keep popping out them babies, bringing more people into what I believe is a cult. Because their goal is to have as many children as possible, we can assume that this movement is growing rapidly. They believe in traditional family gender roles and have family values, while the secular world is feared and avoided, just like the Duggar family. And not only are they to have as many children as God allows, but they have to completely and entirely obey their husbands. It's like you have God here, men here, women here. They basically view women as temptresses, and the wives are taught to give it up every single time their husbands want it, regardless of if they do, and they're meant to serve him, just like I talked about before. I mean, it sounds very familiar to a statement that Michelle Duggar actually made on Today. She said to her children, this was advice she gave to her daughters. It gives me chills because it's so disgusting. In your marriage, there will be times you're going to be very exhausted. Your hubby comes home after a hard day's work, you get the baby to bed, and he's going to be looking forward to that time with you. Be available. Anyone can fix him lunch, but only one person can meet that physical need of love that he has, and you always need to be available when he calls. Great advice, Michelle. That was sarcasm. And as I stated before, like in the Duggar family, Quiverful families aren't allowed to listen to music that makes them want to dance, and they can only read Christian-approved books, and their internet usage is controlled. They also do not believe in government assistance, so even with these really, really large families, most of them are low income because they believe that men should be the sole providers, so they don't want assistance, they want the men to fully provide.
Did Mr. Duggar ever grill you guys about your financial situation before marriage?
They also have to homeschool all of their millions of kids that they're going to have because they don't believe in birth control. And the curriculum that the Duggars use is incredibly disturbing. I could do an entirely separate video that is just about this curriculum because I just recently learned about this. Oh my God, when I tell you I was disturbed, again, trigger warning. I've given you guys trigger warnings at the beginning. You're getting another one. On 19 Kids and Counting, we got to see some of the kids during their homeschooling activities, which looked a lot like what you would expect, but there's actually so much more to their curriculum than what we've seen on TV. I've actually seen them holding up these wisdom booklets in their hands that after reading what is in some of these wisdom booklets myself, I'm so creeped out and disturbed by this. They follow a biblically based homeschooling program called ATI, which is short for Advanced Training Institute. To be enrolled in ATI, the husband, wife, and kids have to attend 2 seminars. This is what the website says about ATI: supporting parents in building their families on the Word of God. ATI is a biblically based home education program for families who desire to raise up sons and daughters who are mighty in spirit and be able to impact the world for Jesus Christ. So over here on the side, this is one of their wisdom worksheets. Here is the basic seminar. This is what they are required to attend. The basic seminar addresses 7 biblical principles that apply to every person, regardless of culture, religion, age, education, or social status. The advanced seminar seeks to help alumni of the basic seminar to successfully apply the principles of Scripture on a practical level. It says, as you delve deeper into the 7 basic principles that were introduced in the basic seminar, you will be further equipped to apply them in your daily walk with God. This right here is what really gets me. We'll get into this in just a moment. I will tell you guys all about Bill Gothard. I'm gonna say Gothard, but I'm gonna tell you guys all about him in just a minute. Like, do not worry, but it says that it's taught by him. The advanced seminar is a 25-hour video course. In this homeschooling advanced training institute situation, this is where the kids will interact in gender-specific peer groups. So they separate boys and girls and they teach them differently. From what I've read online, for the girls in this, they are taught to do what is expected of you instantly and cheerfully, which, I mean, we see how like all of the girls in the family have this like happy and cheerful, everything's fine persona 24/7, which is just not real life. But the boys are sent to this weird military boot camp like situation, and it's not to actually join the military. I don't know why they do that. And even stranger, the ATI program itself is made up of a series of wisdom booklets that I was telling you guys about before that the Duggar family has been seen using at their dinner table teaching the kids. But it's in these booklets, you guys, is so disturbing. Like, yes, it's full of biblical things because they want them to be taught in a biblical way and not a secular way, so everything comes from a religious aspect. But there's also a lot in it that's really disturbing. Like, I heard that there is a booklet, which I couldn't find the specific one about this. If I do, I will put it over my face right here while I'm talking to you guys. There's a booklet that actually teaches you what to do if you are read by a family member, and judging by some of the other ones that I've seen, I can imagine it probably says something like, you should check the way the girl is dressed and look at her friends, because we all know it is the temptress woman's fault. One of the booklets that I read through was Wisdom Booklet 36, which has a scripture from Exodus that says, if a single man entices or forces an unmarried woman physical relationship with them, he surely endow her to be his wife. If her father utterly refuses to give her unto him, he shall pay money according to the dowry of virgins. Like, what that says to me is if a man forces himself on an unmarried woman, then she needs to become his wife. If her father doesn't allow that because she was just SA'd by someone, then the man has to pay money. This is in their curriculum because this is something that they stand by. This ATI homeschool program takes everything in the Bible literally. And like I said, I was raised up Christian. There is a lot in the Bible that's awful. And a lot of people that follow the Christian religion say like things in the Old Testament they don't follow, or, you know, they don't take things as literally, but a lot of people still do. And it's just disturbing because there's a lot of really messed up stuff in the Bible. So if this curriculum takes everything in the Bible literally, like, we have a problem. Like, I mean, it talks about stoning people to death. Like, there's a lot of really messed up stuff. A lot of really sexist things too that keeps women in this box and allows men to do whatever they want. And this is just an example of it. It's so disturbing to me that literally in the booklets that they teach their children in the Duggar family, it teaches them that if they are assaulted, they are to still marry the person that did that to them. There's also a section in Wisdom Booklet 36 called the Law of Crying Out. It says, in this case, the screams of the girl saved her from defilement and possible physical harm. However, even if she had not been rescued in time, there still would have been benefit from her crying out. She would have avoided guilt because she had followed the requirements of scripture to prove her innocence. So basically what they're saying is that the woman is required to cry out if she is being assaulted. And if she does do that, then that will prove her innocence. It will prove that she avoided guilt. And it's literally saying the woman who has something terrible done to them has any responsibility in what happens to them at all from it, and it's awful. It also asks in the same booklet, do you know what provokes attacks? Evaluate dress and friends. It's that whole mindset that still to this day, even people who don't follow this booklet like talk about that if a woman is assaulted, that you need to basically see what she was wearing. Was she wearing something that tempted the man, the weak, helpless man that couldn't control himself? I actually found a wisdom booklet that I lost, so I'm not able to show this to you guys, but in this booklet it literally asked, would you rather be a good godly person or would you rather not endure abuse? These religions and this curriculum what the Duggars follow, it literally puts men on a pedestal. There's actually something from ATI that shows an umbrella of God at the top, men right under God, and then women under that. It literally teaches that women are beneath men. If I went over everything that was in this curriculum, you guys, this video would be 1,000 years long. There's a whole page that has all of the wisdom booklets in it that I will link down below in the description of my video if you guys would like to read through them. There's so many. Maybe I can go through them and collect the most disturbing ones and compile them in a video for you guys. If you want that, let me know. But there's literally booklets on how to dress, how to do your makeup, how to do your hair. This is what they're teaching them as school. That's not teaching kids things that will benefit them and actually help them be educated individuals in society. Oh my God, you guys, it's disturbing. But now we're going to talk about Bill Gothard, and that is who the ATI was created by, and he actually founded IBLP, which is the Institute in Basic Life Principles. The wiki page says that IBLP is a non-denominational Christian organization that serves as an umbrella organization for several ministries. But the truth behind this Christian organization is really disturbing. Much like Quiverful, it considers males the patriarch of the family, superior to females, and that they are to obey the men in every single way. This includes in home, school, work, marriage. Women are raised to learn how to become a good wife and mother and to reproduce. Also, a lot of people in this believe their father is to choose who the daughter's husband is, and that brings me back to the huge application that Jim Bob put together, because I'm like, why would you need that if you weren't choosing who your daughters get with? That to me says that he has to approve who his daughters marry. That's disturbing to me. Like, your parents should not have that much say so in who you're with, like, at all, unless you're being like physically abused or hurt in some way. But the thing about this religion is it's obviously not about who's being abused or harmed, because their curriculum teaches their kids that if they are assaulted, they're to marry that person. It makes me wonder if Josh Duggar had to pay his father for essaying his own siblings. It says women are not allowed to date or to flirt, and they are raised knowing that their husband will be chosen for them by their father. They're not even allowed to wink because it could be considered lustful. They're also not allowed to wear high heels. It might tempt men. Women are discouraged from attaining a higher education because they don't want the women, and even frankly the men, to be educated on real life things. Like, if they weren't raised up in this brainwash situation, there would be no ATI program, IBLP, Quiverful. These things wouldn't exist because they would all know better. But because they're raised up in this and this is all they know, they don't think there's anything wrong with it. IBLP, media is not allowed, including television, movies, and most music and internet, non-contemporary Christian music being the exception, and dancing is not allowed. Obviously, alcohol is not. It's literally the same as Quiverful. It's the same thing. Like, they say they don't follow the Quiverful movement, but it's literally the same thing. Like, I'm sorry that you don't like the Quiverful title, but what you do in your family structure is what is in the Quiverful movement. Children are taught that if they don't obey God's message or the rules of their father, then bad things will happen to them. Even if they get like a cold or they get sick or something like that, it's a sign that they did something bad. Now, the thing that's really messed up about this, you guys, is the person that created this Christian organization has been accused on numerous occasions of SA from numerous girls, and some of them underage. Bill Gothard was born William W. Gothard on November 2nd, 1934, and he's a Christian minister, speaker, writer, and he essays women. In 2014, he actually stepped down from IBLP, which he founded after multiple allegations of SA were made against him. I have to say allegedly, okay? Just gotta protect myself, but we all know what I think. He allegedly did this to several female employees and volunteers in the movement. There are literally as many as 34 women who have accused him of harassing them or SAing them. He denied the allegations and said he did no wrongdoing, but in his statement on his website, he said that he would like rub his feet against people. I don't know. I also read something online about how like he encourages women to wear sandals. So I don't know if he has this weird creepy foot fetish or something. I don't know, but he denied it. It does appear as though he has a foot fetish. I actually found this Reddit post where someone was talking about something weird that he had done with their feet, and it's just incredibly disturbing because they were only 13, so they wouldn't have known that he was doing something weird in this moment. But it's disgusting. And there was no criminal activity that was uncovered because unless it was recorded, like you can't really uncover anything. You have to believe the victims, especially when there's 34 of them. But the lawsuit was actually dismissed in 2018 due to the statute of limitations. So he maintains his innocence and nothing bad happened to him whatsoever because of the statute of limitations, which is horrifying, and things need to change there. They really, really do, because a lot of women, they don't come forward right when things happen. It takes a long time to process your trauma and to really uncover and unpack what happened to you. And sometimes women don't feel comfortable coming out until they know multiple other people do, because they don't feel as alone and unsafe. And when it comes to Bill Gothard, he has connections to a lot of really powerful people that I could give two shits about, like Mike Huckabee, which I talked about in my last video. I mean Mike Huckabee, I'm so sorry, who actually in a video got really mad at this lady for confronting him about his defense of the Duggar family, and he just starts going on about how you don't know them.
When the Duggars came out and their son had their child, You more or less said that you felt sorry for their parents. Their parents let it continue for
You don't know,
2
ma'am,
years.
I'm sorry, but let me just stop you. No, let me stop you, because you're accusing me of supporting child abuse. I'm going to take you on that, because that hurts my feelings. You have no idea what you're talking about. You don't know that family, and I do. I never supported child abuse. Let me finish. Let me finish.
The fact that Mike Huckabee is linked to Bill Gothard, who is this awful human being, is really disturbing. And the fact that he defends the Duggar family for basically protecting Josh Duggar when he essayed his sisters. But because there was no evidence supporting these women's allegations and because of the statute of limitations, it was dropped. But they maintain these things happened and it was simply dropped because of the statute of limitations. And I believe the victims wholeheartedly. But like I said, I had to say allegedly and things like that for the purpose of this video and not getting myself in trouble. But we all know what I think. IBLP issued a statement in 2014 that said that Bill Gothard had acted in an appropriate manner and is not permitted to serve in any counseling, leadership, or board role with the IBLP ministry. And actually he showed up to, I don't know if it was a seminar or something that they were having, and ended up being removed and arrested because he wasn't supposed to be there. And then in July of 2015, he relaunched his website that included testimonials from several women, which I just find to be the strangest thing. Like, he literally got women to basically testify that he didn't do those things to them. And I'm like, you do understand that people who essay other people doesn't mean that they've essayed every single person that they had an encounter with. So of course there's going to be people that could testify that nothing ever happened to them. It's just so weird to me. Like, how do you think that's evidence supporting you at all? And obviously with all of these things that we do know, it's really upsetting that nothing bad happened to him, and he even has a website. The victims of Bill Gothard said, "We are not recanting our experiences or dismissing the incalculable damage that we believe that Gothard has done." So as you guys can see, there is a lot to unpack with the Duggar family. There is so much more that I could put in this video, but I've literally been filming this for 2 hours. I don't know if I'll do another video on the Duggars or not. Definitely let me know if you guys want me to, if you want me to explore the wisdom booklets more. There is just so much to unpack here, but I feel like it's really important to bring awareness to these situations because this stuff happens under people's noses all the time, and people are being abused by people in power under these religious organizations that it's just sick. I feel like there are a lot of people that use religion to hide themselves and their dark, gross insides from the world. And this is just another example of that. Like, the amount of men that are messed up and that hurt people that are put in positions of power in religion is disgusting. And that's why I think a lot of the teachings in this thing, and if you were religious, I'm not trying to offend you, but it's just my stance on it from growing up in religion and my own personal experience. I really feel like a lot of these things that are taught in the Bible and that people follow, it teaches that men are superior and it protects them and it puts women beneath them. And it's so messed up. Like, there's people on YouTube that teach this stuff, that teach that women are beneath men. It's not okay, and it's not something that I stand for. I think it's completely wrong. I also think it's so important to note, and if you guys want me to do a whole video on this, I would actually love to, because I wanted to talk about this so much more in this video. I had a whole section just simply about Jill Duggar in particular, because she has actually come out and said a lot of things, and there is a lot that shows us that she is not in support of what the family believes in anymore. She actually wears pants, and so does Ginger Duggar. So they kind of broke away from the family a bit. And there is a lot that she has said, or, things that have been liked on social media that shows that they believe that they have brainwashed them. If you guys want me to do an entire video about her, definitely let me know. And please make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you guys liked it. And also throw a comment down there if you would like to do that. It helps YouTube with the algorithm. You guys actually kicked ass with that in my last video. Your comments helped YouTube push the video out there, and it encouraged me to do another one because so many of you guys enjoyed it and liked my commentary on the situation with the Duggars. So if you guys comment and like it, it lets me know that you want to see more videos like this and content like this from me. But I am going to leave you guys with that. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys very shortly with another video. Bye guys. Become a member of my channel and join today for exclusive videos for me every single week, multiple times a week. This members exclusive content shows much more of my personal side with lots of chats and just sharing what's going on in my life behind the scenes. You get to see my fiance, my cats, and sometimes I even browse the web with you guys. It's so much fun and I love my members so much. So if you would like to join us in our hidden little corner of the internet, you not only get exclusive videos, but you also get members badges. These are handmade by me and it will show everyone in lives and when you comment that you are a member and a supporter of this channel. I know my members are excited to welcome you with open arms just like I am, so please consider joining today and I hope to see you guys there.